Well, that's certainly one way to end this franchise. Alright, hey guys, I'm finally back to recording these again. Sorry it took so long. Now it's been like 2 months since I recorded a new one. A few explanations as to why that is before we kind of jump into the rest of this. The main thing is as I've mentioned before in other videos, I'm still currently struggling with unemployment. I've been slowly working my way out of it because of some part-time jobs I've been getting, but it's still kind of touch and go. So a lot of my attention when I'm not doing the shorts, which takes a whole lot of time on its own, was kind of just dedicated to trying to get that off the ground. So that's why I haven't recorded any of these in a while, but I have some time this week and next week because I made sure to record like a bunch of shorts in that week I took off. So that means I have a bit of a backlog on that, which means I can have more time to work on these. So I have so many movies to catch up on because I've still been seeing movies on a weekly basis. I just haven't had time to sit down and actually record these videos. So I'm going to kind of work with what I saw more recently. I'm just going to kind of work my way backwards. So some of these reviews as they come out are movies that came out months ago that you probably forgot about, but I went through the effort to see this, so goddamn it, I'm going to talk about it. So to start that off, let's start with the one I just saw last weekend, which is Venom 3, The Last Dance, which is obviously the third and maybe last film of the Venom franchise. I don't know. I know it's made a profit, so maybe they'll try and milk it for more. Yeah, I guess I should start off with what I thought about the other movies. I'm not a fan of this particular film franchise. Did not like the first one. I know a lot of people did and kind of found it like it's dumb fun, but for me, the Venom movies has always been a case of trying to make a Spider-Man character work without Spider-Man, and of the ones they've done so far, Venom is probably the best one that can do it. But I do think it deprives the character of the most interesting aspects about them, and what they replaced it with just isn't up to snuff to me. That being said, even though I don't like the first one, even though it's like very circa early 2000s kind of Daredevil, Electro, all that kind of era of comic book movie, like I can at least see why some people derive fun from it. And it's kind of like, okay, whatever. I did not like it at the time, and I still don't like it now, but at least I could see the appeal. Second one, Let There Be Carnage, I found equally frustrating, kind of for the same reasons. Like, Carnage is not a deep character to understand, and yet they still kind of fucked it up. And I'm not really big on, like, it has to be one-to-one with the comics, but again, what they replaced it with was just not as interesting. And it kind of makes points like, okay, so what was the point of that? And believe it or not, adding more blood and guts and gore to these movies would not have made them better, although some people seem to believe that is true. I have always thought that is a woefully ill-conceived notion, but that's a topic for another time. So now we are here with the last movie, which I saw with my partner. She liked it. I did not. I was like, it's fine. I honestly found it less frustrating than the other two. Maybe just because I just kind of over it. Like, I'm kind of like, okay, whatever, it's doing its own thing, and that's fine. But again, what it's doing isn't particularly like gripping or grappling. It feels kind of bare bones. Tom Hardy, like, his shtick from the first movie was kind of interesting, that Tom Hardy was just kind of doing whatever he wanted, and that was kind of kooky and fun, and it's in this way. I think by the third movie around, it feels like it's kind of worn out its welcome, and it feels less like a character and more of just a series of manic episodes. And it just doesn't really come together for an interesting character arc, even though the movie wants you very hard to feel sentimental and nostalgic for the previous movies, even doing so much as a clip show montage at the end. And it's just like, oh man, remember when Venom was there? And Venom was also there at that point. It just feels weird. And it does make wonders, like, were people, I don't know, like, again, my partner liked it, so I guess there's some people that do have these sentimental feelings for these films, and I'm like, if you do, okay, great. I'm glad that you like it, then I don't, but I don't know. The main villain of this one is, like, this Venom, like, symbiote killers that are sent by Null, who is the Kanan Black in the comics, who is basically the king of the symbiotes, and has been there longer than the universe itself. And now, granted, Null is not exactly the deepest character in the world. He's mostly there just kind of to look cool and be menacing, and that's what he was in the comics too. He does in the movie. He does kind of have the Thanos effect of it opens with him in a big, like, very straight to the point info dump. Telling you, like, I am the king of the symbiotes. I need this plot device in order to be free so I can destroy the universe. Blah. So I'm gonna send my symbiote hunter thingies to go get the symbiote that has the codex thingy bobber that I need to be free, and that goes into Venom, so it turns into a road trip movie, where with the one thing, this is definitely a nitpick, and I know it doesn't actually matter in the grand scheme of things, but I did find it funny that they established that while Tom Hardy is already in Mexico, Eddie Brock is already in Mexico. He becomes a wanted fugitive for allegedly killing Pat Mulligan, who was the cop that would chase him in the last movie. And he says, like, oh man, we should get away. We're wanted felons. We should go to New York City. And I'm like, dude, you're already in Mexico. You already made it outside the border. Why are you going back in to one of the most populated cities in America? I don't. That's one of those things that never really made any sense to me. And they do kind of go back on the whole MCU thing of it all. That is one thing I will give not Far From Home, No Way Home credit, which is I always thought that the twist and the kind of fuck you that Marvel had towards the Sony Venomverse was very funny, and a lot of people were very disappointed by it. I thought it was the greatest fuck you I've ever seen on film, where Sony was very clearly trying to shoehorn their Venom into the MCU stuff, and Kevin Feige just gave a strong, firm, absolutely fucking not. But we'll take the symbiote, though. I always thought that was hilarious, and one of the greatest just practical jokes in film, or like in modern film, not of all time, obviously, but like I thought it was very funny. They do kind of play off on that, and they kind of just take their toys and go home. Like, fine, we don't want your MCU universe anyways. So yeah, that happens, and it turns into a road trip movie where there's a hippie family that's also involved. It goes in Area 51 because I guess that's where we're at as far as ideas go. And a whole bunch of other symbiotes pop up, and I looked it up, and it doesn't look like many of them some of them could be different versions, but none of them were really kind of confirmed, so really they just could have made a whole bunch up. One that always did kind of annoy me on a personal level, and I know I'm like the only person in the world that cares about this, but Pat Mulligan from the comics, I always thought got the severe shaft unjustifiably. No, because I always thought his character was kind of interesting. Pat Mulligan is also was the character known as Toxin in the comics. Toxin was the offspring of Carnage that bonded to Pat Mulligan, who was a cop, and he had a miniseries, but that's based on him. And I actually thought the miniseries was pretty good back when I first read it. Granted, I was younger then. I don't know how well it's aged, but I liked it at the time. And I was intrigued by the character and what they were going to do with it. And then, like his next appearance, they killed Pat Mulligan off panel and replaced it with just the symbiote itself, and it just never felt quite right again to me. I don't know. It feels like they've struggled to figure out what to do with Toxin ever since. And this movie kind of treats Pat Mulligan the same way. Now, granted, they didn't pick the most charismatic actor to play Pat Mulligan, so it's not like it's a huge loss, but the symbiote looks completely different, and it, honestly kind of better, if I'm being honest. I kind of give him a whole slithery tail kind of thing, which is cool. And I'll be honest, a bunch of symbiotes at the end fighting a giant monster, I'm not going to say no to that. I love giant monster fights, so that kind of stuff is fun. There is some fun to be had, and there are some lines that got a chuckle out of me here and there. It just doesn't feel like it comes together in anything that's very memorable to me. That feels like, this feels like the natural conclusion to where the story was going. It feels like, okay, we managed to milk this for 3 movies. Tom Hardy wants to go do different things now, so we're going to kind of wrap this up and put a sentimental bow on it and call it a day. And if that's that's something you like to do, that's something you like to watch, and all power to you, I'm not going to see here you're bad for liking this, and I try to always avoid that kind of discourse, because I know different films mean different things to different people, but for my money, this didn't work for me. I don't think, I'm hopeful that we could finally put these Venom movies behind us, so the MCU can finally do Venom and probably find a much more interesting way to do it. So, yeah, I think it's all I really have to say about Venom: The Last Dance. It's fine. If I had to give it a score, I'd give it like a 4 or 5 out of 10. It just kind of never... This franchise never went above mediocrity, and it still hasn't. I will say it's still better than Morbius, and probably better than Kraven the Hunter when that comes out later this year. So, yeah, I think it's all I got this one. Next one, I'm going to talk about Terrifier 3, so stay tuned for that. Bye.